Okay, I'll call the meeting of the Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen for February 23rd, 2021 to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes, present are Mr. Slavin, Ms. Whiteside, Mr. Tropiano, and Mr. Titlebaum, as well as Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Bowen. Absent at the moment is Mr. Muniz.
Yes, I just texted him, so we'll see when he comes in. Pledge of Allegiance. Let's see. We'll have Attorney Bowen do it for us.
He's got his mic off.
Rich is muted.
Put your mic
we'll
on.
join in. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, announcements. We'll start with Alan.
Okay. Hopefully this particular announcement doesn't change in a day like lately what's been going on with the COVID. I'm going to read this. This is an official announcement again. Those interested in getting vaccinated can sign up for South Coast MyChart portal, which automatically adds people to the healthcare providers list of prospective vaccines recipients at mychart.southcoast.org/mychart/SIGNUP, which is sign up. As vaccines are available, eligible people who have signed up for MyChart will be randomly selected and asked to schedule an appointment. This will be including people 65 and older, with people of 2 or more comorbidities, or who have made MyChart accounts should keep an eye out for the notification that they've been selected to schedule an appointment. The most reliable way for people to learn that South Coast clinics are scheduling new appointments is by waiting for a notification they've been selected to book an appointment. And there'll be 3 facilities, one in Fall River, one in Dartmouth, and also one in Wareham. The one in Wareham is the YMCA. The one in Dartmouth is the former Vanity Fair store on Fons Corner Road. Also at the same time, starting, I believe, on the 24th or 25th, one of the newest mass vaccination sites will be the former Circuit City store, which I think has been empty for a good 10 years on Route 6 in a mall there. And that you should be able to book online as you would do for Gillette or Fenway Park. There should be a lot more available openings there, but I think they're probably booked up the first couple of days already because you can book a couple of days in advance. And that's it.
Thank you. Patrick?
No, I don't have anything.
Let's see. We still don't have Jim?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you didn't respond to my text. Hold on, let me see. Oh, apparently he can't get in. Derek, could you copy and email him the link to the meeting? Because we're not going to get to you for a bit. 1 second, let me just let him know that you're going to email him. All righty, let's see. Judy, announcements.
Sure. Congratulations to the Wareham Middle School students, parents, and faculty, as well as students from Minot Forest Elementary. The middle school cohorts competed in a food drive to benefit Wareham's Family Pantry at Damien's Place, which was conducted by the Middle School Student Council and National Honor Society. Donations were collected from January 25th through February 9th, just 15 days. Because it was a competition, the co-advisors of the Middle School Student Council knew that exactly 1,484 food items were collected by the students, their families, and the school staff. The cohort that collected the highest number of items, Michaela Smith's homeroom and the 6th grade blue team, won the grand prize, which will consist of some treats and games so we can include our remote students. Donations were also received from clients at Blade's Hair Salon, as well as students from Minot Forest Elementary School. Mrs. Arsenault from Damien's said she was grateful for the donations the students had gathered, noting that donations from groups and individuals keep the pantry going. Congratulations, kids. That was a really nice thing to do. The Wareham Garden Club will be awarding $1,000 scholarships for graduating high school seniors and college students. Applicants should have been legal residents of Wareham for at least a year and have a minimum B or 3.0 average. Scholarships are available for students with focus on study in one or more of the following areas: horticulture, environmental studies, floriculture, land management, botany, biology, conservation, landscape design or architecture, forestry, agronomy, city planning, or allied subjects. High school students must be graduating in the spring of 2021 and have been accepted to a college or other post-secondary school. Scholarship applications will be available at area high schools' guidance offices. College students must be currently enrolled at a college, provide transcripts, and submit an application. All applications and the materials must be postmarked on or before March 31st, 2021. Scholarship applications and information are available from the Wareham Garden Club Scholarship Chairperson, Norma White, who can be contacted at the Wareham Garden Club, Post Office Box 3276, or online at norma.white@comcast.net. The Wareham Council on Aging announces garden therapy for the month of March. The Wareham Garden Club prepares do-it-yourself kits of floral arrangements each month that seniors can pick up at the Wareham Free Library entrance. This month, the kits will be ready on March 12th between the hours of 10 and 11 a.m. The number of kits is limited, so please call ASAP to reserve your kit at 508-291-3130. The Council on Aging would like to thank both the library and the Garden Club for offering this program to our seniors during the pandemic restrictions on all of our regular programming. Council on Aging continues to offer its Tuesday and Thursday grab and go meal, which must be reserved the week ahead of pickup. The number to sign up for this program is 508-291-3130. COVID-19 canned the annual plans for a play, an author talk, and a dinner to support the Wareham Library Foundation, as well as my favorite, the book sales. In order to ensure that the Wareham Free Library continues its vital services to the residents of the town, the Wareham Library Foundation has launched its program called Bridge the Gap. President of the Wareham Library Foundation, Liz Wiley, said it was important for Wareham residents to understand that although the library is town-owned and operated, the town only provides 80% of the library's operating budget. The foundation and Friends of the Wareham Free Library contribute the rest of the money. Wiley said that 20% of the operating budget is approximately $80,000. Without the donations, the library could lose its certification, and we don't want to go back there. That would mean that residents would lose access to the wide variety of library resources available through the sales network, as well as just the hours that it is open. So the foundation has been sharing information about the fundraising efforts online using social media. Residents can donate using the donate button on the foundation's website at www.supportwarehamlibrary.org or mail checks to Wareham Library Foundation, Post Office Box 485, East Wareham, 02538. Thank you, that's it.
Okay, I'll go back to Jim. Anything for announcements?
No, I just couldn't get in. The link wouldn't execute for me. So I apologize for that.
Nope. No worries. Technology is fun sometimes.
Thanks for sending me the link, Mr. Sullivan. I appreciate it. That one worked like a charm.
Anytime. It must have been my super secret link.
Okay, citizens' comments. Before we start off with citizens' comments, you know, one of the hot button issues now is the Borrego solar installations that are proposed for 80 Makepeace property in 3 different locations. We've been getting a lot of email A lot of commentary on social media about that. One of the things we have is an internal policy where we send out notice to various town departments, boards and whatnot, and also the land trust. We do that. We ask them to reply within 30 days. And I believe at this point, the parties that have replied have done that. However, under the law, we either have, I forget which, 90 or 120 days to decide whether to exercise the town's first right of refusal for the property or to decline that first right of refusal. Given the level of interest and that so many people have indicated their desire to explore the purchase of the property, I did contact Jim Kane, who's the CEO of the 80 Makepeace company today, explained to him that there was a lot of interest here and said that this would not be coming on the agenda for at least a month. And that he could anticipate perhaps that people might be reaching out to him to talk some turkey about what the value of the land is and so on and so forth. So if there are people here tonight who had wanted to comment on that, I would ask you to hold off. We've got a really full agenda. We don't have that on the agenda tonight. We're not going to decide that until it goes on the agenda. I will give plenty of notice ahead of time before it goes on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to weigh in before we take up the matter and vote. So with that in mind, are there any citizens' comments on other topics? And if so, use the hand function to let me know. We've disabled the chat function because last week, not only did we have running commentary from non-members, but I actually caught myself responding to a citizen through the chat function, which of course is a technical violation of the open meeting law. We're not supposed to be doing that. And as soon as I sent the message, I slapped myself mentally upside the head and said, hey, you can't be doing that anymore. So this actually protects us to get rid of the chat function. Since we have the hand raise function that shows a yellow hand on our screen, if you'd like to talk to the board, I'll give you 30 seconds or so to raise your hand. So I guess I'm counting down. Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to board comments. Alan. You need to put on your mic, Alan.
Okay, just to update on what Peter just said, it is 120 days. And also because of the government's or state of emergency, this, among other certain things that the town has to vote on or the different land commissions have to vote on, everything is frozen until the governor's executive order is removed. And then you have 90 days to do that as well, just so everybody understands. We're not just picking numbers out of the air. Thank you. The other thing that came out today that was pretty interesting from the Secretary of Education, the governor has decided with the secretary, they want all the kids back in school by April, and they made that announcement today. There's obviously some kickback from the teachers unions because of the teachers have not got their vaccination shots, et cetera. So they're going to have to settle that out. But they are going to have children coming back one way or another starting in April. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick, comments?
No, I'm not going to comment tonight. I'll save something for what do you call it? Liaison reports.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
I'm good, thank you.
Judy?
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have anything either. Appointments, reappointments, and interviews, we don't have any. We can wait 1 minute and we will start the show cause hearing for A&M Auto.
We could do the ratified the hiring under 9G.
Yeah, I guess we could do that. That should be pretty quick.
Okay, I move we ratify the hiring of Kayla Betancourt as a full-time Board of Health Principal Department Assistant, Aaron Messier, part-time Board of Health Senior Department Assistant, Thomas Woodard, mechanic at Municipal Maintenance, and Joseph J. Sylvia Jr., Board of Health Code Enforcement Officer.
Second.
Okay, motion to ratify hiring by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
I just want
Jim,
to say
go
that,
ahead.
you got a nice group of candidates and we're lucky to have them. Thanks.
Thank you. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes,
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes,
myself, yes, 500. Okay, we are at 7:15 on the clock. So can we have a motion to open the show cause hearing for A&M Auto 252 Onset Avenue?
I move that we open the show cause hearing for A&M Auto 252 Onset Avenue, Onset, Mass.
Okay, we have a motion from
Second.
Judy and a second by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
yes,
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes,
myself, yes, 500. Is there anyone here from A&M Auto to address this matter tonight? If so,
raise your
let's see.
hand.
Yeah, well, they're gonna have to raise their hand. It's kind of interesting because I've never raised my hand and I just want to take a look.
It's
Just,
under reactions.
Huh?
On the bottom, under reactions.
Okay.
You click on that and that's how you raise your hand.
there
Ah,
you go. You click on more on the right for mine and it says raise hand. You just click on it.
Yep. Either way.
gotcha. Okay. Oh, now I have two hands up. How do I get rid of them?
You push the button again.
So nobody's here?
There you go, Peter. It's gone.
Gone, okay. I'm not seeing anybody.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Yes,
they have been unresponsive to efforts by mail, by certified mail, and by service by a constable.
okay.
There's
I
been
was
nobody
concerned about the mail issue, simply because it's onset and strange things happen to mail sometimes there, as we know. But the service by constable certainly would be more than adequate.
Mhm.
Okay, well, the issue here is, why don't you explain to us what the issue is?
Me?
Yes,
Yes.
you're the
okay.
most familiar with the file, so I'll have you
Yep.
inform the board.
Thank you. The business was last licensed and the license expired December 31st, 2019. So they've been, I don't know whether they've been doing business because I don't go by there regularly, but they have not had a license, a valid license since that time. So
And just for the public's knowledge, what sort of license are we discussing here tonight?
secondhand,
That's two.
Yep,
Class 2, actually.
yep, class 2.
I've gone by there, by the way, and there hasn't been any activity there for as long as at least the last 6 or 8 months, there hasn't been any activity.
Okay.
okay,
So
when you say activity, are you referring to? what
Nothing
appear
in
to
the
be-
building, the thing's locked up, there's some vehicles on the side. There's really probably no cars that are actually for sale out there. It doesn't look like it. And it's been for quite some time. And somebody had mentioned this to me last year, that was the case.
So the theory is they went out of business without surrendering the license?
It sounds like it.
well, can I'm looking at the, I guess the license, class 2 license, it was last issued January 1st of 2019
And it expired December 31st.
of 20, right?
No, of 19.
Well, it says here, date issued January 1st, 2019.
And it expires 12 months after that, which would be December 31st,
Okay.
2019, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, I mean, hypothetically, they didn't renew it. It's just back as a license. I don't think that we have to revoke it. There's nothing to revoke. What are we revoking? A license that they didn't never renewed? I have to ask Rich about that, but there's nothing to remove.
And there was no response.
Okay, well, town council, what say you?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the license expired by operation of law over a year ago. It wasn't renewed. There isn't a license. a vote revoking it would at this point just be a matter of form rather than substance.
There you go.
Well, if no action is needed, we can get a motion to close the hearing then.
So
So
moved.
move. Second.
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Patrick to close the hearing. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Hearing's closed, no action taken. Easiest hearing we ever
May
had.
I make a suggestion, sir? I would actually prefer to revoke or make sure that they understand and everyone else understands that they're not in business.
Well,
Because
I mean, if we want to send out a letter saying you've surrendered your license and no longer are allowed to do, car sales in the town of Wareham, that's fine.
I think
Move
that's
to
a
authorize.
preferable.
Okay, move to authorize the chair to send a letter out to let them know they don't have a license.
Second.
Okay, Jim had his hand up.
There we go.
There you go.
Excuse me.
I like the hand.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, does that mean, how many used car dealers licenses do we have in town?
15, I think.
So that means there's one available?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to throw that out there. So hopefully that'll get their attention or,
Well, hopefully get somebody's attention because, it's better for our people if they have more consumer choice.
Mhm.
And it's kind of regrettable we allowed this guy or whoever to tie this license up for a year when we really didn't need to. So,
I agree. So that's great. Thanks.
yeah, thanks. Okay, we got
have a
time.
vote?
Do the vote. You
Vote.
didn't do your roll call.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You get the authorization. So we
Thank
had
you.
a motion by Patrick and a second by Judy. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Myself? Yes. Had to
Thank
think
you.
about it for a minute, who I was asking.
Thank
So 500. I will just make a note here to myself. And I'll get that out tomorrow. Okay, jumping down, we're gonna go down to the agenda because we've got several minutes before the Shellfish Grant hearings. COVID-19 update. Do we have anything from the town administrator?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really nice news. Only 29 new cases and 0 deaths as of Sunday.
Nice.
Awesome.
Good. Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Get some
Any
more
comments from-
vaccine.
Any comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll jump down to trash disposal update. I assume everybody got what Derek sent out regarding possibility for a seasonal discount.
Yes.
So with that in mind, I'll throw it open. I'll just go around the horn. Alan?
I've read through it. I think it's reasonable considering that most communities, not only in Massachusetts, but most states, there is no break for, they consider everybody's home as a primary when it comes to base services like this. So being able to offer this seasonal residents a discount, I think is a very good thing to do, obviously. And I think it's extremely fair overall.
Okay, thank you. Patrick?
I totally agree with him. The people that are the trash company is going by that house no matter what. And to offer them a discount is that we are able to do, I think is, it just shows how we've worked hard to get this thing tweaked and up and running. And thanks to everybody. I mean, just nice job on this, really.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, this is what we I was in favor of last week is the discounts, and I'm glad to see everybody's in favor of it now. And it's just that, we're giving them the opportunity to pay for the time of the year that they're here. And, and I think it's fair to them, and I think it's good for us. I think it's better to have something than nothing, and to help the program pay for itself. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Judy?
Yeah, clarification. I thought last week that we voted to keep the transfer station fee at 125.
We did.
I thought so. I don't have a problem with the discount on the curbside, but we voted last week to keep the seasonal transfer at 125 because that was in all of the explanations we've heard. That is to cover the cost of the operation of the station.
Well, I'll ask Derek to speak to that.
Thank you.
No, I just put it in there with the 6250. Frankly, I don't remember a vote of the board, but your brain's better than mine on it. So,
We did.
but you can feel free to, again, it's your policy. Vote it how you want.
Well, is there any discussion to be had on this point, or do we want to stick with what we had? I'll go to Alan. He's got his hand up.
I voted last week, to keep it where it was because of the fixed costs, et cetera. But looking at some of the numbers, I believe that at this point here, we can offer a discount to the seasonal father sticker. Because there's questions also whether or not if we give them a discount for the curbside pickup, whether they would keep the sticker or not as well. Thank you.
Patrick?
I'm sorry, could you explain what you just said, Mr. Slavin? I didn't understand what you just said.
What didn't you understand?
They wouldn't be getting the sticker?
No, there was a question originally, if we gave a discount, which we're doing now, for the
Right.
curbside pickup, that maybe the sticker wouldn't come with it like it does for the full price.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Patrick?
Yeah, that is kind of a little bit of a issue because you're right, that the sticker comes with the curbside, as you remember. So how do we, if we charge the full price for that, how do we give them the discount on the other side? That might be a problem. I don't have a problem with that. I voted for them to have the full price because that's the cost of operation, and I don't have a problem with that. I'd vote that again because I think that's reasonable. But, it might be problematic for the sticker issue. I don't know. You have to ask Derek on that.
You're convoluting the sticker matter, so I'd stay away from it.
Okay.
So, just.
Okay, so to clarify, this is your proposal.
This is what I put together with what I've seen. If again, if I apologize if I did not realize what the board voted last week, I'll put together a document, whatever you want to do. Again, it's your policy.
Yep. No, that's fine. It was a long meeting. Okay, Jim?
Yeah, again, on the seasonal, I'd rather make a lot of fast nickels and a few slow dimes. I'd like to see people utilize it, even if it's for half of a year, than decide not to. And if we could bring some funds in on that, I think it would be beneficial. It would be, I believe it was till the end of September or October, would have been the 6-month period. And, if they're not here and if they're not going to use it, we could always, and I know Mr. Sullivan said, let's not convolute the issue on the sticker. You could have a different color sticker. There's a lot of simple things you can do. And, but that's just my perspective. And, if we got to get 100 people, that's $6,250. And it could be the difference between those 100 signing up or not. So I just look at it as in that economic manner. Thanks.
Okay. Judy, I'll come back to you.
Oh, yes. I guess I have. I guess if the sticker does not automatically go with the curbside service, I don't have a problem.
There's, again, folks, I'm sorry to interrupt. everyone's confusing the situation. Let's do the two things separately. You have curbside. If you have curbside, you get a transfer station, whether you're seasonal,
Correct.
senior, whether you're anything. Transfer station alone is just the transfer station, if you're doing that as a transfer station sticker. Everyone seems okay on the curbside with the seasonal discount. Now we're talking about the transfer station.
Correct.
Please do not mesh the two. They're two
Okay.
separate.
Okay, that makes it easier.
Well, then I would stick with the vote that we took last week of the 125.
Well, if nobody makes a motion, then that's what's gonna happen, so.
I'll make a motion to accept the document as presented by the town administrator with both seasonal curbside and seasonal transfer station.
I'll second that.
Okay. So we have a motion from Jim and a second from Alan. Is there any further discussion to be had?
No, just sorry for the confusion. My comment was strictly based on some discussion we had earlier that last week. That's all.
No, that's fine. We've been chewing at this so long, I think we've gone around the whole thing, or we're chewing it again. Okay. Roll call vote on the motion to extend the discounts. Or no, actually, the motion was to accept the document as presented, which has both discounts on it. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
No,
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
No.
myself, yes, so it'll carry 3-2. And that, I believe, will be the last adjustment we have in terms of the billing for the trash. We'll keep it on the agenda because we're still going to want to hear about the progress in terms of getting the barrels out. And of course, I'm sure April 1st is going to be an interesting day for everybody. But anyway, it looks like we've got this thing pretty well set. I'd like once again to thank the town administrator and Selectman Manise for all the work they put on this. You know, Jim took over this issue, over a year ago, and he really busted his tail on it. He worked hard. Derek put in an incredible amount of work in a very compact period of time once we knew that we could have a transfer station to make that available to the residents. You know, the easy thing for Derek to do and Jim to do would have been to say, you know, it's just too complicated to try to get effectively a new town department up and running, a whole new function in a couple of months, but they didn't shirk away from that. And it does provide a low-cost option for people who have very little trash. And so I think that's a good thing. So thank you, everybody, for that.
You have a hearing now.
We can go back to the hearing. We have the application for the renewal.
Peter, I have a raised hand.
Yeah, Alan, go ahead.
Just going brain dead. On the piece also, Mr. Sullivan has been working for the last day or so very heavily on all the requests for opting out or asking for adjustments. I just want to let the public know that it's a lot of work. He's been working on it hard. You'll be getting responses either way shortly. I thought Derek would make the comment tonight, but I just want people to know that it will be coming and he is working on it. Thank you.
Yep. And they are coming in. We know that.
Yes, they are. Thank you.
Okay. Can we have a motion to resume the continued hearing?
I move that we resume the hearing for the renewal of the Shellfish Grant W3 for David Paling and Philip Cheralucci.
second,
Okay, motion to resume by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
yes,
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
myself, yes, 5-0.
I'd like to
Okay,
make one comment before we start, Peter.
go ahead.
I'm friendly with both parties, especially Charlucci's dad. I have no interest or anything else in the particular grant for myself, but just to make it public known that I am friends with both people.
Fair enough. Okay.
I
Judy,
will make that same statement. I actually am friendlier. I worked with Mr. Cheralucci Senior.
Okay, worked as in past tense, correct?
That's correct. I have no interest in the grant nor their business.
Okay,
yeah, that doesn't mean anything.
no.
All of the paperwork is in order.
Good.
So I don't see them here.
No, but no, I don't either. We had a phone number pop up earlier that I don't know, but if that is one of the Shellfish gentlemen, please use the hand function. Hit the reactions down at the bottom below all of our little picture slots here, and you'll see something that says raise hand if that's the case. And it is a public hearing, so I have to ask for if there's anybody who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition to this. Also, please raise your hand, and I'll give it 20 seconds or so.
For the record, Mr. Buckminster has recommended both of these applications for renewal.
Okay.
I move to close the hearing of the renewal of Shellfish Grant W3 for David Paling and Philip Chiralucci.
Second.
Okay, motion to close the hearing by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Myself, yes, 500.
Now I move that we renew the grant number W3 for David Paling and Philip Chiralucci for a period of 10 years.
Second.
Okay, motion to renew by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Myself, yes, 500.
I move that we reopen the hearing on the application for renewal of Shellfish Grant number 6 for Dennis Pitsley and Dillinger Pitsley.
Second.
Okay, motion to resume the hearing from Judy, seconded by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Judy.
Yes,
Myself, yes, 500. And again, the paperwork is in order.
absolutely. Yes, sir. And again, Mr. Buckminster has recommended the renewal and extension.
Okay. Once again, I'll give the public 20 seconds to raise their hand to speak either in favor or in opposition to this renewal. Okay.
Move to close the hearing of the Shellfish Grant number 6 for Dennis Pitsley and Dillinger Pitsley.
Second.
Okay, motion to close the hearing by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Judy.
Yes,
Myself, yes.
I
Hearing is closed.
move the renewal of Shellfish Grant number 6 for Dennis Pitsley and Dillinger Pitsley for a period of 10 years.
Second.
Motion to renew by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Judy.
Yes,
Myself, yes, 500. Okay, we've done COVID, we've done the trash update. We've got the harbor master here for discussion and vote for temporary harvesting closure for Smelt Fishery. So we need to bring Gary G. Buckminster up, please. Oh, there he is.
Hi, good evening.
That was quick. I guess they read the agenda too. How imagine that. Good evening. So what do you want us to do with this?
Well, I respect the fishery. I respect the history of the fishery down there. I provided some information to you from Brad Chase. He's in charge of the, he's probably one of the most respected biologists for DMF with the diadromous fish. And I'm going to request, last year we did talk about it. We were looking at an indefinite suspension of fisheries there. I'd like to see us, after speaking with everyone, to look at least a 3-year closure on the smelt fishery at the Station Street location. The documentation provided to you shows the decline from the Fike net that the state does monitor every single year, and Brad's been working there for probably at least 15 years. The other concern was brought to me by the Buzzards Bay Coalition. Obviously, they've done some extensive work down there. They're still working on railings and some safety features. And one of their concerns was the fact that people wandering around there at night with the fishery, their concern is safety. So just addressing that to you because they brought it to me. So I think the 3-year is reasonable. It's the same thing that we would do for a shellfish closure. And the state is going to be monitoring, again, obviously with COVID, it's difficult for them to do as much monitoring as they'd like to do, but they are going to go up north of the dam and do some monitoring for recruitment and whatnot into the areas that did not have access before. So I'm sorry?
Yeah, was somebody speaking?
Somebody else. It wasn't any of us.
Yeah, okay. Continue, please.
Sorry about that.
Nope.
So they're going to monitor it, and Brad, after speaking with the DMF specialist, he errs on the side of caution that the fishery should be closed. I mean, it's you saw the numbers that he's catching, and it's significantly low, and there's no other place like this to fish the smelt like this during their spawning season here. So
Okay, thank you. I'll go around the horn. Alan?
This one here, I have a lot of knowledge of. I used to be on DMF. I was one of the 9 commissioners for about 5 years. I know Brad, he came onto the commission, actually into the Division of Marine Fisheries when I was on the commission. I have a lot of respect for what he puts together. I spent some time going through the reports and all the information, and there's no question that fish is in jeopardy, and we need to do this. The one thing I would ask Gary, if it's not too much of a hassle at the end of each year of the 3 years, just to send us out for a little notice what the status is. We'll have to vote it again. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Patrick?
Yeah, I was looking at those numbers. They're pretty bad. This is not a good situation. So I'm in favor of the 3-year moratorium. I know that we had talked once about having an indefinite, but I'm never in favor of indefinites because I think it needs to be reviewed no matter what. So we just need to pick a time, and I think 3 years is reasonable, and then they can look at it again, or we can look at it again. That's I'm okay. Good job.
Thank you. Jim?
I guess a quick question to the process. We don't have to do this every year. Review and make a decision.
Correct.
Okay.
Do it 3 years.
No, that's fine. Last year I was in favor of multiple years. I had spoken to some of the marine fisheries people that were doing some work down at the dam, and they had suggested that. Last year in 20 they got 0 on the Fike netting, 35 times. So yeah, I think it's time. And also it's kind of funny if you look at the chart there, it almost seems cyclical too. Maybe it was just the right day. So yeah, I'm in favor of it. The minimal 3 years, that'd be great, and see what happens. Thanks.
Okay, Judy?
I support the 3-year suspension or closure.
Yeah. Yeah, I do as well. So can we get a motion to that effect?
I move that the town of Wareham impose a 3-year closure of harvesting smelt by net from the Wewiannock River under the authority given within Chapter 67, Sections 1 and 2.
Second.
Okay, motion to close the fishery by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, 500. Thank you, Gary. It's never fun to acknowledge that there's, environmental issues going on, when you have to close a fishery, but it is what it is. Thank you for bringing this forward, and please extend our thanks to to Brad and any other state officials as well who were involved in this.
Thank you very much. I apologize to the fishermen. I know how this is a very deep rooted fishery for many families in these towns. And I do respect them and they're wanting to do this. And I do hope we see something. And, there are other problems and it's not just overfishing. So I as much as I know they're going to be bad about this, I appreciate their support. And
Yeah.
also, I just want to make just one clarification. The under that chapter 67, it's all we can do is stop the netting of smelt. We cannot, general fishing within the general fishing timelines, they can still harvest smelt by other means. It's just this particular one. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Have a good night. Thank you. Okay, jumping down, continued discussion regarding marijuana host community agreement policy. Let's see. We have Ken here.
He's right there.
He's right there. Ken. Oh, he was there. I guess he got shy.
Wait a minute, let's see if I get this back on.
Don't worry about it.
You don't need to see me anyway.
You can talk.
Back in 2018, we had developed what we called the rules of engagement to review the new marijuana establishments that were coming into town. We've had some experience with it and it's time to update. So what we have is that town meeting allowed marijuana establishments under zoning bylaw. And the state license applications require the execution of a host community agreement between the town and the establishment, a business plan, a community outreach meeting, and the town notice of zoning compliance to the Cannabis Control Commission. So what we have is anybody wishing to start an adult use marijuana establishment in Wareham would submit to my office a letter of intent, documentation identifying the owners and the map, lot number, and address, and the list of proposed establishment types, evidence of site control, a copy of the business plan, the conceptual site plan, and the business registration with the town clerk. And from my office, I'd be distributing the materials as appropriate in electronic format. We'd have a public outreach meeting by the applicant upon acceptance of the submission. There are rules and requirements for public notice of the community outreach meeting. Then after that, we'd go back to the Board of Selectmen to get approval to negotiate the host community agreement. We'd prepare the terms, town administrator, town council, and myself, and bring the authorization to execute after we draft the terms and present it to the Board of Selectmen to at a public meeting to approve the execution of the host community agreement, which would be done by the town administrator. That's the process. What I also did was create a form to list the business's information, so that we have a good background on which businesses are being proposed to site within the town. This would still require, after that, a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals for the site development.
Okay. Well, I'll start with Jim on this one because Jim was the one who was interested in revisiting the process here. So I'll start with him and get his thoughts.
Okay. That's all well and good, and I thank Mr. Buckland. And it would be nice that once a person has applied, that the board is notified. So you said you've created a form now for that, which will put down the applicant's information and who they are. I don't know if the employee identification number, if not, social security number, their business address, where they want to do their business. I'm assuming all that would be on there.
That's correct.
Names of principal holders.
Correct. the partners in the establishment.
Yeah, so those are things I wasn't seeing. And then what kind of brought it to my attention is when we got some community host agreements that had errors in them, and other people had waited a considerable amount of time to try to get them executed for whatever reasons. So I just felt it would be better if we're included in it at an earlier state than a later state. And, you know, I brought up a lot of issues, you know, timelines, timeframes. They don't have to be strict, but sometimes they're suggested. I think the CCC suggests that also. They suggest a lot of things, I've noticed. And going through some of the material, they have a lot of material there, as you know, I'm sure. So I was looking to tighten those things up. You know, some of them are very good in the information they provide. Others are sort of weak. And, you know, like what was their previous business experience and whatnot, you know, and who they are, and not just a name, you know, who they are, what they've done. Otherwise, you know, and do they have the financial resources to pursue a cannabis business within the town?
All good questions.
So those, you know, I got like 4 pages here. I don't want to take everything out. So that's why I brought it up previous to, and it kind of just caught me on a couple of the applications, and I can stop in and talk with you instead of just rambling on here, and taking everybody's time up. I did speak to this, I think, 3 weeks or a month ago, and thanks for coming in. Thank you.
Okay, other questions from the board? Alan?
When we originally set this up, as far as internal, I had concerns, I think some of the other selectmen, about what was happening in Fall River. And we asked Mr. Buckland to do basically the initial work to make sure that the 5 selectmen have no input initially on who's selected, so there can't be any come back to us individually as well, which I think is still the correct way to go. The only thing I'd like to see, which Mr. Muniz has already said, I don't want to keep repeating stuff, it just takes up time, but I would much rather see, once someone applies, to see all the information that Jim asked for. I have no problem spending my time researching and seeing who they are. The only reason I bring it up is one of the applications that they originally had a person on there who was involved with the Fall River fiasco. And at that point there, if that person was still on there, I would never approve any kind of host agreement with them. Thank you.
Okay, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm okay with the process. I think it's complete, and I have no issue with it at all. I do like the idea of knowing who the people are, though, without a doubt, of who the people are who are involved in the process, because that's a big deal if you ask me.
Okay, thank you. Judy?
Yes, thank you. I believe that the explanation that Mr. Buckland gave satisfies my questions that Mr. Muniz had actually asked and had raised, gave me some ideas to think about, but I think Mr. Buckland has outlined the process that satisfies any of the questions that I had.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, some of the information that Selectman Muniz was looking for, you know, initially makes sense. You know, who are they? You know, if you can get that to us when they send something in initially, I think that would be good.
What we received the business plan, which lays out the owners and the operators, the officers of the companies that are submitting for a request for a host community agreement.
Yeah. And I think getting that out to us when it comes in is helpful.
That can be done.
Yeah, and again, you know, if I might speak, you know, to make sure that they're going to have, that they have the financial resources. You know, I think that's very important because not so much in the Townsend, but as they move forward, as we go through the process of reviewing it and then a host community agreement. Again, I think it's important. I know an individual who applied and contacted us, and there's a lot of money. They need to put a lot of money out. They have to have, well, we require them to have an agreement for a lease on a property, either active and or an agreement with the owner of the property. And that is not, I don't believe that is required by the triple C for the town to have that, to execute the host community agreement.
That's correct.
That's something that we do. So in one person's instance, they were like 10 months out paying rent. So that's why I kind of alluded to, excuse me, you know, a reasonable time frame in order to execute, unless it's on the issue, unless it's on the applicant's fault that we're not processing it quickly enough, and you know, in a reasonable time frame. I mean, it doesn't seem to be a lot to them. I know everybody's getting better at them because you've been doing them for 2 years plus now. I don't know how much negotiation is, how much it changed since for over the 2 years on impact fees and excise and whatnot. So, you know, again, just, I wanted to see things tightened up a little bit in notification. And if we can do that, I would be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I would like to see, and this is less about policy and it's more about the actual agreements, especially with regard to retail. I mean, we don't have any licenses available now, but should a license become available in the future, I would like to have a drop dead date by which time they need to have final approval, you know, from the Cannabis Control Commission, you know, barring some circumstances perhaps outside of their control that might prevent them getting a license. But, you know, we've issued 3 retail licenses. One of these firms has been in operation for over 2 years. Another one should be coming online very shortly. And, you know, I personally don't have any idea on the status of the third one. So I think it behooves us to, you know, where this is the big money maker for the town out of all of them, the retail sales, I think it would behoove us that if we do another one with somebody else for some reason, that we put in a firm date by which they have to be up and licensed, maybe even stage it. You know, you have to have your final application in, you have to have your preliminary application, however that works. I don't want to sit here and try to assign arbitrary deadlines because I haven't been following it closely enough, but I think it's something we need to do because, you know, right now it's over 2 years out and we've got one shop open. And I think we need to be able to light a fire under people. And I think the best way to do that is to say, listen, you know, get your ducks in a row or get gone. So that's something I'd like to see if we do come up into the retail. I don't think that's quite as important in the manufacturing and in the other, you know, the other sectors, because we seem to have plenty of that going on anyway. But the retail, I'd really like to get better control of that going forward, if the opportunity presents itself. So that's just my remark on that. Is there anything else for Director Buckland at this point? No? Have a good night, Ken. Thank you very much for the update and thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
Take care. Next up, we have the discussion and vote to authorize negotiations of a host community agreement with Trava Inc. I know a couple of members wanted to take a look at that.
We've already authorized the agreement.
Yep.
We voted that a while ago to authorize the agreement. The agreement was actually done before we authorized it. So we had a meeting to authorize it. Now we supposedly should be accepting the agreement.
What, Trava? Excuse me?
Yeah, travel, yeah.
I don't know about, they had incorrect information on their application. They had an address across from the Deacon School.
Yeah, that was taken out. That was all corrected, I believe, in the last time when they came back.
No, it wasn't. That's what I was referring to. That's why the question was raised.
Well, maybe we should ask Ken.
Just to clarify, the last time we had them before us, my understanding is I don't think they actually got an invite to, and we did not take an action to move forward with negotiating because there were some questions. People wanted to see some of the background of some of the folks and such, which I believe has been taken care of, or no.
I haven't seen a list of the actual investors yet.
Okay.
Well, we've had them all
So
along.
who requested to put it on then?
I think I did that the last time we talked about it. I asked for,
Somebody should ask Ken about this because I believe the list of investors are there.
Yeah, Ken, come on back.
The list of investors are included in the business plan.
Exactly.
Is it just the two principals?
That's correct.
And it also mentions they have other businesses. I was kind of interested in what their other business backgrounds were, what their addresses were. It's just, it's very vague, I thought, and it would be nice if they'd come in and have conversation with us. I think it's a pretty important thing. We require that people want liquor licenses and people to do businesses. We require more information from them than we do for people coming in for marijuana. It was kind of one of those things that brought this about. And, I went through the application again, and the addresses were correct now, only what is it, 3119
Yes.
Cranberry Highway, that was correct. Now, the other one was taken out, but I still don't know too much about the people who are proposing to run the business, what the backgrounds were and whatnot. And, it's kind of nice to get to know who's coming into town and want to operate this type of a business. Thank you.
The one thing I just want to remind everybody, a good point that was made from Attorney Bowen was that we are not the licensing authority for this. This is the
Correct.
Cannabis Control Commission. I agree. We asked for more and we can get more information. I just want to make sure that for anybody listening, they understand we don't license these businesses. We only engage in a host agreement.
correct.
And also, as long as we don't go outside of the regulations set up by the Cannabis Control Commission, we're within our rights to request this information, correct?
I don't know. I mean, it's
Does Attorney Bowen want to opine on this through you, Mr. Titlebaum?
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They're asking for you to be their host. And so as long as the request is within reason, you're entitled to ask for what you want so that you're comfortable hosting. Now, where that line of reasonability might lie, I'm not sure. I think I'd have to know what it was. I hate to fall back in that old saying about pornography and knowing it when you see it, but that's kind of the way the situation is. If the board decides that it would like to have the people who are asking you to host them to come in, then the board can do that if it wishes. I don't see that as an issue. As Mr. Sullivan has pointed out, your level of involvement is not the same as it is with liquor licenses because ultimately it's the state that issues the licenses. But on the other hand, these are people who are asking you to be their hosts. And so if you have reasonable requests to make of them to feel comfortable with hosting them, so be it.
I guess this almost gets back to the policy discussion. I mean, is this something that the five of us want to do? Do we want to invite every applicant in? I mean, I think we know where Jim is on it. I don't know what the rest of the members think.
I think
Alan?
blood samples would be too much. That'd be crossing the line. So
Yeah.
Alan?
The reason I'm asking for the information for investors, what we usually see on the applications are actually the partners. They are not necessarily investors. I know of at least two of our applicants, not necessarily retail, that have had issues. They've had to go back and find new investors because their original investors was not themselves as partners, but individuals that were putting up money. It's not the same as on the application. A lot of times that information is not given to you. And that's the reason I asked for that. And that's the reason for it. As far as the Cannabis Control Commission, they double check everything we do anyways. They told me directly that we could ask for things, but they do check as well. So it is double. But I like to see the information ahead of time because I hate to waste time on a host agreement and everything else if something's not going to be right. It's that simple. I'm not asking for anything ridiculous, but the simple fact is that we've had at least two organizations that have applied and have been delayed a year or more because they basically lost the original investor and had to go somewhere else. Thank you.
Okay, Patrick?
Yeah, well, I don't have any problem with anybody knowing who the investors are or whatever. And like they say, they're in it's in the business plan, which is a good thing to know. And if there's any other questions, that's fine. We haven't, and I'm not sure that it's really required. I understand the retail licenses. We've had everyone who's gotten a retail license come in front of us. They've come, they've sat down, they've talked about it and so on. But these ones that are for testing and, manufacturing and stuff like that, I don't see any reason at all to have them come into the selectmen and sit in front of us when we're not the licensing authority. It doesn't matter. As long as all the information's there, it's correct, it's what it should be. I can see us authorizing the agreement to begin with, because that's sort of our job. I get that, but other than that, I think we might be carrying this thing too far. It's not set up like liquor on purpose, apparently, and because as you know, we don't get any 3% or anything else from a liquor store. We get 0 GOTS from a liquor store. So they didn't set it up like that on purpose. And they kept the authority as the license. Whereas with liquor, we give the licenses out. So it's kind of a different ball game, even though they still do the backgrounds and they still do their stuff on the liquor licenses. They've chose, to keep a hold of a lot of that. And I mean, as far as knowing who the people are, yeah, I want to know who the people are. It's a good thing to do. But I would rather see us put our emphasis on, okay, you got X number of time to get it done. And if you don't, we got to move on to somebody else. That's what I'd like to see us focus on. I'd like to see us, there's 2 retail licenses that have been floating around forever, including one in this very location that we're talking about tonight. And it hasn't gone anywhere. And I think that that's something we should be worried about. That's the thing we should be thinking about. 2 years of waiting for somebody to get their retail operation up and running. If it's the Cannabis Commission, then we should know that. If it's them, then we should know that. That's a different story. That I think we should know, because then we could move on from whoever. That's my opinion.
Jim, then I'm going to go to Judy.
Oh, let Judy speak.
No, go ahead, Jim.
I'm listening to everybody, and I appreciate we're having discussion about. I just remember other groups who were not. What was it? You Can Be Too. They came in, nice professional presentation. I don't believe they were they weren't retail, were they?
No, they were manufacturing.
Yeah, and it's nice to see them, and I think it says a lot about who's coming into town, and it is a business that is dealing in a controlled substances, and I think it's just kind of nice. We, like I said, we require more people who want to run a secondhand shop, you know, for information that I see anyhow. Anyhow, thank you. I'm good.
Okay, Judy.
Yes, thank you. I don't have any problem at all with requiring information or requesting information. I think it's incumbent upon us to do due diligence. Mr. Slavin's concern about previous individuals in another location in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is a very valid one.
I believe.
Absolutely valid. And so I'm all in favor of, you know, seeing the bolts and the screws in the automobile. In other words, due diligence.
Okay, now is that something that we through Ken is obviously the intake person for all of these things.
Yeah.
Is this something that we should have Ken get from the applicant? Have Ken take a look at the business plan they submit, and if it doesn't contain sufficient information about who's involved, before he even forwards it to us, have him ask the would-be applicant to beef it up a little bit, give us more information. Is that something you would be interested in?
Yeah, I don't see why we're looking at an application that's not totally complete. That's the bottom line for me. I don't understand why it would be before us unless it's complete.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, just floating out there to add more fun to this discussion, if you will, is the now where some of the manufacturers are allowed to do delivery sales, aka retail.
Yeah, that's, well, yeah, I understand you may have something to say about that when we talk about town meeting articles. You know, delivery is a different kettle of fish than manufacturing. Delivery is direct interface with the public, just like it was with the retail. And, you know, going back to the 7 original applicants for retail that we went out down to 3, we interviewed these people. So do we adjust the policy for the level of involvement with the public?
Yes.
I mean, I think I'm less concerned with a manufacturer coming in and talking about what they're going to do than I am with somebody who, you know, is either going to do retail or delivery. I think it's important to get, figure out who the people are involved in delivery and get to know them, because, between us issuing a host community agreement and the state issuing a license, we're basically inflicting these people on, the customers. And I don't mean inflicting in necessarily the negative sense, but we're part of the process of approving people to go and do direct sales to people. So that's something I certainly would like to get to know those people, as Jim puts it. So that's something I think we should consider.
I agree, Peter.
So I guess we're looking at almost a stratified approach here.
Basically.
Ken, thoughts?
That's reasonable, yeah. Let's while we list out the number of the types of establishments and requirements of what we're looking for to include in the documentation that they file with the town before you have to take it up.
Right.
Can I say one other thing though?
Sure.
I think that on the same instance, we got to make sure that we don't hold them up.
Yeah, correct.
So we have to make sure that we don't hold them up either. So we need to be much quicker on the draw to get the process done so they can go forward as well. Because that could hold them up with the ABC, with the Control Commission.
Have we held anybody up? Have we, retarded their progress?
Well, the one we've got going on right now has been being held up. They came in front of us, a month ago now, with this particular one, trying to get the agreement approved. At least Ken came in with it, and we said, we didn't even approve the agreement, so we sent him back to the drawing board. So now we've kind of held up the process. Now, if we're gonna rewrite the rules and then bring them back into the process to write the rules, that's gonna take all that much more time. And it might not only be them, there might be others that are sitting there waiting as well. I don't know, we'd have to ask Ken about that. Do we have others sitting there waiting, Ken, as well?
We have Smithers waiting right now.
Let's see, there's Smithers, yep.
And they're on the agenda for tonight.
All right, so that's a good thing.
There's a new delivery production facility on Little Brook Road in the industrial park that they want to have an audience before the town as well.
Can I ask a question? Is delivery approved?
Yes, it is.
So we can allow delivery? The guidelines are all in place?
Yes, we can allow delivery. Nothing happens at the Cannabis Control Commission until we issue a host community agreement. They can't make an application to the state until we've agreed to a host community agreement.
Right. I didn't know that delivery was taking place already.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
We have not authorized any delivery within the town of Wareham.
No, not yet. Judy?
Well, my question was, Mr. Muniz wanted to know, if the method of getting it done is approved by the state, but we can choose not to okay it, can't we?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, an agreement takes two parties.
Right,
So if one doesn't agree, you don't have an agreement.
right. Thank you.
Well,
So what's the plan?
well, I think for anybody who's applying for delivery, I think just like we did with the retail, they should come in before us.
Well, we can have everybody in before us if you want. I mean, we can just have everybody come in.
I mean, we could. I mean,
you
it
know,
doesn't have to
that,
be it doesn't have to be 3 hours in the Star Chamber. I mean, we can, spend 5 minutes chatting with them and, send them on their way.
you know,
And I don't think
people
we
get
have an
to know
issue
them a
with
little
it.
bit. People get to know them a little bit, I don't know. I mean, we could do it just make everybody come in.
Now that we're putting the trash more or less behind us, we'll have time.
It seems to me that when the individuals or the companies have these outreach meetings, I don't know how many people go to those. And
Very few.
very few. So if we brought them before us,
Yes.
there would be an opportunity for a larger audience to know what might be coming into town. And I think that's a reasonable.
That's absolutely true. Because the funny part is people actually watch us.
And they send us emails too.
It's
Oh,
like
yes.
watching the grass grow, but they watch us.
Now, if I might,
Yes.
that would be relatively easy to coordinate. So
Yeah.
they just post it in the paper. It'll be taking place at such and such, and we make it part of our agenda.
I wouldn't do the public hearing within the agenda. Why not have a public hearing, but have them come in front of you as well? It just
Well,
doubles
it's not a
up.
hearing. It's the outreach meeting.
Yeah,
I think that there's two separate things. I think if they want to do the outreach meeting, that's fine. And it wouldn't be the worst idea to have them do the outreach meeting, and then if people have concerns, they can get in touch with us and we can ask it, if they're not satisfied at the outreach meeting, they can pose the questions to us and see if we can get more information.
Mr. Buckland just said that very few people attend the outreach meetings.
I'm just saying in the event that something does come along that engenders a little discussion, shall we say.
Well, if something
Right,
comes
but-
along, they're coming to us anyway.
Yeah.
Right, but the outreach meeting is part of the application process. Is that not the case?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they have to have an outreach meeting. But I
Yes.
think that in order to ensure that everybody is aware, because I would be honest and tell you that I haven't attended an outreach meeting. It would give an opportunity for more people to ask more questions and to see the faces of who wants to do business in the town.
Yeah, I would still say keep the two separate because I don't
Yes,
want to
I'm
be running
saying-
I don't want to be running their outreach meeting.
No, I'm saying keep them separate. I am
Okay.
absolutely saying keep them separate because one is required under the licensing. The other one is we are bringing forward information to the public that they might not have had an opportunity. They might not know about the outreach meetings.
I agree. I think what we should do is have them come to us before we authorize the agreement. Have them come in front of us.
Yeah, and I think that should be something that we don't, if they come before us, it should just be, whatever forum it is, and we don't take a vote that night necessarily. I think that, there may be times members want to consider what they've, and sort of chew over what they've heard from the people. I mean, if it turns into a 3-step process, you have meeting, you have the next week, you have the vote whether to negotiate, and then if that's approved, then ultimately it comes back to the host community agreement. You're adding a week to the timing here. I don't think that's too burdensome.
I don't either.
And I think that would go a long way to satisfying some of Jim's concerns, and he could get to know them.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it.
I don't either.
So why don't we do that, Ken?
Sounds good. One of the things that you could do as a board is to notice when the community outreach meetings are, so you can generate some interest and get people who are maybe want to ask some questions to show up. The other option is to have the groups come before you first, generate a discussion with them, and then send them out to do the community outreach meeting.
No, I'd rather do it the other way around.
Actually, I'm going to defer on that one. I would prefer the other way, where the outreach comes afterwards. The newspapers have a tendency to write up the outreach meeting as if it's, happening and going to be a done deal. We hear about it after the fact. So by them coming before us then they do the outreach meeting. I think it's cleaner all the way around. Thank
Jim?
you.
Yeah, and that was one of the things, the selectman's office until the last couple were not getting, at least I wasn't receiving the direct notice of the outreach meeting. And if I'm correct, they only have to put in, the individual puts it in the legal section of the paper. Correct? It's not a notice put in by the town, and they only have to do it for what, one publication?
An ad, yes.
Right? So it's a very short notice. And if you don't catch it, if you don't spend your time going through the town meetings, planning, zoning, Concom and stuff, you might not see it.
Well, we haven't been getting notified of them.
Yeah, I think we did the last couple, I believe we did.
Notices are sent to the selectman's office as well as the town clerk.
But you're anytime before the last couple of weeks, we hadn't been notified in a while.
I agree.
So that was a breakdown in the process.
Yeah, well, that can be tightened up. And if we, who's on first here?
I don't have a problem with doing it in the order that Mr. Slavin and Mr. Muniz would prefer. I don't have a problem with that. I just want both of them done.
Okay, and just for the record, that order is, so we can inform Mr. Buckland.
That order would be before the selectmen, who would then generate interest for the out.
Okay, so introduction happens here, outreach meeting happens second, and then the other two processes go from there.
But we don't see them until the paperwork is perfect.
You mean in terms of a business plan
That's correct.
that properly identifies and everything else?
That's correct.
So we wait for Director Buckland to vet the paperwork, and he sends it on and says, this has the information you're looking for.
Yes.
Start the ball rolling. Okay.
Okay, so now the question is, where are we gonna put this guy who's in front of us right now into the process?
Well, I don't want to hold these guys up anymore. They've been waiting long enough, but I think going forward, I'm gonna ask for motions to approve these, but going forward, I think, anybody that comes in the door, this is what we should be doing.
I agree. I'll make a motion to approve this, get this thing moving.
I'll second it.
This thing, are you referring to the Trava Inc.
Correct.
Yep.
negotiations for the host community agreement?
Yes.
The correct action is to ask for execution by Derek of the host community agreement.
Correct.
So made.
That's to negotiate with Trava, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Sir, it's already been negotiated. We sent it back last time
Whiteside?
for the
So
purposes
it's,
of
it's,
negotiation.
so it is the execution by Mr. Sullivan.
Correct.
For Trava?
Yep.
Yes, that's what Mr. Mr. Slavin has recommended or
Yes.
moved.
We did approve it before, Jim. We just never voted on it.
Correct.
It came before us.
You had issues, you had questions, Mr. Muniz, that,
I know.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve by,
Execute.
to
Alan, execute.
motion to execute by Alan and a second by
Patrick.
Patrick. Okay, roll call vote. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Jim,
I'm not comfortable with it. So I'm going to say no.
okay, thank you. Judy,
Yes,
okay, myself, yes, so that one's taken care of.
I move that we approve the host community agreement for Smithers Marijuana Testing Lab.
Second.
Motion by Judy, seconded by Alan.
They were in front of us last week. The individuals representing the company. I think it was
Yep.
last week. Yeah.
Were there any questions regarding that?
It's like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, okay.
I see somebody has their hand up, but where this isn't a public hearing, I can't acknowledge anybody.
That's the proponent.
I know that's the proponent, but it's, you know, if I let him speak, then I'd have to let everybody speak, and we really can't do that.
No.
Um,
So you got a motion and a second, and Alan's got his hand raised.
yeah, we got Alan with an actual hand, we got Jim with a yellow hand. I'll go with Alan, because I think he beat Jim.
Yeah, it's close. I spent some time going through the Smithers application. They sent us the actual, description and everything else. And I've also gone through the company several times before. And I don't see any issues at all with Smithers as far as application, business plan, finances, et cetera.
Okay,
They
fine.
do testing now, right?
Yes,
Everything
not
else.
marijuana, but they
Not
do
marijuana, right? But they do
Right.
They do
testing,
water testing. Yep.
right?
Jim,
Yeah, some of the dates in the agreement need to be changed. They're reflecting 2020 in springtime, so those need to be taken care of. And I did have a little concern on signing the host community agreement before we either take a vote or they put in a variance with the zoning board of appeals. Or it said other permission from the town. If someone could explain to me what the other permission of the town would be that's in there.
this would be the approval by town meeting of the warrant article to allow the rezoning.
Yeah, well, they mentioned that, but they said our other permission of variance. So I guess none of it would be done until either the variance and or town meeting vote to approve the reduction in the setback to 0 would take place.
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah, besides, just tighten up the dates, I'm good. Thanks.
Thank you. And this allows them to get into the Cannabis Control Commission queue so that they can proceed with them as they await for the town meeting vote and so on and so forth.
Can they do that
Yes,
without the zoning in place and not having an address which is zoned for that purpose at this point in time? Mr. Buckland, maybe through you, Mr. Titlebaum, to Mr.
yeah,
Buckland.
Yes, they can apply without having compliance with zoning. What happens is the Cannabis Control Commission sends a request to the town asking if it's in conformance with zoning, and if not, when that process would occur, that the zoning would be approved.
Thank you for the clarification. Learn something every day. Thank you.
There you go. Anything else on this? We've got a motion and a second. Okay, roll call vote. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes,
Yes, please.
Jim,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500. So Mr. Beaver should be happy. Okay, now we get to jump over to the Springtown meeting warrant articles. Did everybody get an opportunity to get a look at the amended grid that Cassie sent us this afternoon?
Yes.
Yeah, there may be, more articles to discuss at some point. Just going down the list, we're looking at the top 10 stays the same every year. If somebody wants to make them, and they all have to go on, they're all, things that we do every single spring. If somebody wants to make a motion to put on Articles 1 through 10 as listed.
I move that we do that. Articles 1 through 10 as listed on the amended document that we got today from Ms. Slaney.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion to put these on in a second. Do we have any discussion?
Can you give me 1 second here?
I can read them off to you quick if you want, Jim.
I just, I lost my, my link, my link to my page. So 1 through 10.
Yeah, 1 is election of officers. 2 is recurring business. 3 is compensation of certain appointed officials. 4 is the fiscal year 21 revolving funds. 5 is the occasional reports. 6 is the fiscal year 22 capital plan. 7 is the fiscal year 22 budget. 8 is the EMS budget. 9 is the Upper Cape Regional Technical School budget. And 10 is the Water Pollution Control Facility Enterprise Fund. And those have stayed the same since, well, for a long time.
Right.
And we obviously don't have the numbers yet for any of these things. These are, put them on the warrant, not a recommendation.
Right, they presented the, Mr. Sullivan presented the budget, right?
The initial budget, but as we know, that's
Right.
subject to
And,
change.
And I don't know about what the capital plan would be. But I'll go along with it. I'd like to see that, what the capital plan is and what the 5-year plan is. I know he's been busy with other stuff, so he knows I'm a pain anyhow, but thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion by Judy and a second by Jim. Anything else? Roll call vote. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
yes,
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
myself, yes. So these have all gone on 500. Now we've got holdover articles. Some of these have been kicking around for a year now, believe it or not.
Or more. I'm going to move that we place the definition of a 2-family or duplex dwelling on the warrant, as well as the sign zoning bylaw, as well as the update to the FEMA floodplain bylaw.
Second.
Okay, motion to include sign bylaw, 2-family or duplex, and FEMA floodplain on here.
Okay, we're not, these are not from the special town meeting, right? We still have,
That's correct.
No,
thank you,
these are the 2 carryovers from the last 2 spring and fall annuals.
thank you.
So roll call vote. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
yes,
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500 to put those on.
Going to recommend that we include the fiscal year 22 Community Preservation Fund reserves on the warrant.
Yeah. Second.
Yep. For the public, this is just the annual 10% carve outs plus the 5% administrative fee that the law requires us to take the money and put 10% into each of the 3 pockets. So that's all this is. We have motion by Judy, seconded by, was it Alan? Roll call vote. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
yes,
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500. That goes on.
I'll move that we include the Harbor Services permit warrant article.
Okay, and that's the receipts reserved for
Second.
appropriation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, 500.
I move that we include, that we authorize the inclusion of the union contracts onto the spring warrant.
Second.
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Those, do we have outstanding contracts to be put on there?
Yeah, it should be the sergeants and then the four persons. The sergeants, I think we went over before, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but you know what? You just reminded me. I got to get that on a live agenda because we never voted that open session.
That's correct. What was
So
the
let me
other
make,
one?
let me make a notation for that.
Four persons.
Four
The foreman,
persons.
Yeah,
Is that completed yet? Or are you in?
no, that's still,
Okay.
yeah.
So, yeah, I guess if they're completed by that point in time and we know what everything is, it'd be terrible if we said no. But, all right, I'm good.
Okay, so I guess that's a yes. Let's see, Judy,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500.
I move that we include the drive-throughs in the CS district on the town meeting warrant for spring of 2021.
Yeah, this was
Second.
something that appeared on prior warrants.
That's correct.
Second.
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Jim?
Yeah.
Is that a yes, Jim?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. Myself, yes, 500. Marijuana testing lab setback.
I move that we include the marijuana testing lab setback bylaw on the warrant.
Motion by Judy. Seconded by somebody?
Second. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I was sleeping too.
I was gonna say, we put them all to sleep. Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Just quick question. That wasn't on the special, huh? Just coming up?
No.
Okay, yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, 500.
I move that we include the Wareham Village 1 rezoning article on the Springtown meeting, which has been postponed a couple of times.
Okay, we have motion to put Wareham Village 1 rezoning on by Judy, seconded by
We're gonna finish up in 1 minute.
somebody.
Second.
Seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
No.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. So that goes on by 4-1. We did skip over the residential uses
Yeah, I was
definition.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I move that we include the residential uses definitions on the Springtown meeting warrant.
Give me a second.
Second.
Motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
I'm going to abstain on this.
Okay. Judy?
Yes.
And myself, yes, 401 with Jim abstaining. Town Charter, Chart 1.
I
And
move
this
that
was just for everybody's
this is the
recollection here.
editorial changing, words around and getting the format correct. It has nothing to do with content. It is editorial only.
Okay,
So I move the inclusion of Town Charter Chart 1 on the Springtown meeting warrant.
okay. Motion by Judy, seconded by
Patrick.
Patrick. Roll call. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, 500.
Now I'm going to do the
Town
next
chart
ones.
2, we've got the different categories
Yeah,
that we
and I'm
sent
going to
it.
do them one at a time.
Yep.
I move that we include Town Charter Chart 2, Part A, definitions.
Second,
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan,
yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Jim,
This is definitions only?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Myself, yes, 500.
I move that we include Town Charter Chart 2, the Part B, transitional to the Springtown meeting warrant, and I'll explain what it is after I get a second.
Second,
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Alan.
Okay, some of these are the things that need to be removed from the charter because the transitions have already taken place several years ago. And they, for instance, when the town treasurer, became an appointed position, the language did not catch up with the fact of how that person is now appointed as opposed to elected.
Oh, so it's cleanup,
It's clean.
substantive cleanup.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we have a motion by Judy and a second by Alan.
I think it also includes the sewer commissioners, if I recall, because even though they are in the charter, I believe that's also, if you want to hang on, I can look.
If I might speak here,
Yeah, go ahead.
this was sent out this afternoon, correct?
Well,
Yes.
no, it was originally sent out with the agenda on Thursday, and Cassie sent out an amended list of the articles to correct some of the fiscal, like the fiscal year was 21 in the old one, so.
No, I'm good. It can all be taken up. Yes, I'm good.
Okay. So,
Yes.
yeah, he's okay. He doesn't need any further information, I
okay.
guess.
Thank you.
Did we have a motion in a second?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Roll call. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500. Capital planning?
Yes, that's section C under Town Charter, Chart 2. I move that we include that in the warrant. The capital planning committee structure would be changed in this one to take the town accountant off and to place the town treasurer on the capital planning committee, which is functionally what's happening now. But it's a cleaner way, including the people who really are responsible for putting the capital plan together.
Okay, Alan?
I think Mr. Foster's been going to the meetings all along. Wasn't he part of it?
Yep.
Yes,
He
he's been
was-
going to the meetings, but no.
He's the town accountant has not been going. The finance director, Mr. Foster, has been going.
Right, but the way it's written is it's supposed to be the other way around. So
Yeah.
we're catching up with the fact of what is happening as opposed to,
When that was created, and obviously that was Alan.
That was me.
doing that. But a lot of times we didn't actually have the finance director at that time when it was created.
that's
And
correct.
a lot of times the finance, and it's almost 50-50, the towns use finance director as either the treasurer collector or the accountant, depending on their staffing. So ours happens to be the treasurer collector. That seems to be the way it's set up.
So as I said, it is putting in writing what is in fact happening.
Correct.
Okay. Anything further on that? You've lost me. Do we have a motion?
Yes.
Okay, and we have a second?
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. Alan,
yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
myself, yes, Judy.
Yes.
Okay, 500.
I
Every so
will
often,
move-
I like to switch the order around to get your eyes to open up again.
You're trying to keep us awake.
Yeah.
Town
I know.
Charter Chart 2, Section D for the sewer. I move that we include that on the warrant. I'd be happy to explain that after I get a second.
Second,
Motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Go ahead.
Okay. Again, this is having the language of the sewer commissioners cleaned up and because they were included subsequent to, anyway, the one change that would be substantive would be that the director of the water pollution control facility would what's the word, report through the municipal maintenance director, or actually to the town administrator. Because the way it's structured now, that position reports to the sewer commissioners. It's,
Okay.
yeah. You're frowning, Alan?
no, I'm just trying to understand. So right now, you're saying they report to the sewer commissioners?
He's picking it up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
He's
It's,
assuming it.
it's late in the day, sorry.
No, that's okay. The Board of Sewer Commissioners change was approved by a town meeting on October 27th, 2014, approved by the legislature, and it was not part of the original charter. The change was approved, but the language in the charter hasn't caught up to it yet. So while it appears to be a substantive change, and it was in 2014, this is, that's what the change is.
Does that
Okay.
explain it to your satisfaction, Alan?
Yeah, so that was a change that we did a special act change on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it was never updated?
No, who the person reports to was not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Jim, go ahead.
Would you say the town meeting body voted to make that administrative change?
The sewer commissioners were created in 2014.
Correct.
Okay. And I'm trying to find it. If you hang on a second, I'm sorry. Blah, blah.
The sewer commissioners discussed and voted on this?
Yes, they did, sir. We had actually a member of the sewer commissioners on the original charter review committee. And
Yeah.
he brought it back to the then sitting sewer commissioners, who I believe are the same people who were still there.
And they'd report to Mr. Sullivan? The director would report to Mr. Sullivan? Is that what the language change is?
The language cleans up who is responsible for appointing that individual. And also for overseeing the budget presentation from that individual, not from the sewer commission themselves, to the town administrator. And also shows how the sewer superintendent could be appointed or removed under the sections of the charter. It's a lot of cleaning up of language.
Yeah, I think Attorney Bowen wants to speak to this, maybe, Mr. Titlebaum?
I see his hand. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, In 2014, I believe under a citizens petition, citizens petitioned for a special act that created a new sewer commission and reorganized the department. That was approved at town meeting, and the legislature approved the special legislation. There was language that remained in the charter that was not included in the citizens petition, which conflicted with the new provisions as approved by the special act.
Correct.
Under standard rules of interpretation, the special act would supersede the contradictory provisions. So what we're left with is a section in the charter that needs to be revised to bring it into conformance with what the law actually is, that law being the one that was petitioned for in 2014. So as Selectman Whiteside indicates, this is simply bringing the language in the charter into line with the legal reality and the factual reality, and would not represent a substantive change in the way things are being done right now.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on that one? Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Yes,
Judy?
yes.
Myself, yes. 500. Assessors?
Okay, I move that we place Town Charter Chart 2, Part E, the assessors, on the Springtown meeting warrant. And again, I'd be happy to explain it after I get a second.
Second.
Motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Explain away, please.
Okay. The entire section on assessors was rewritten by our Director of Assessments to comply with the law. That's just plain and simple.
Okey doke.
She also advised the Board of Assessors that this was going to be being brought forward, and they had no objection to it.
Okay. Any questions?
Did the Board of Assessors take a vote to move this forward?
I don't honestly know if they voted it. I know that they had no objection to it, but I honestly don't know whether they took a vote, sir. I'm sorry. I just don't remember.
No, I just, that'd be an important thing.
There were no objections.
Right, no, it'd just be important to have that policy in
yeah.
place. But that's the only question I had.
Thank you.
Okay. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. 500.
Town Charter Chart 2, Part H, I move that be included on the warrant. And again, I'd be happy to explain it.
Second.
Okay, you said H, but we've got F, G.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you want to pull those back and we'll just keep it in order? So I don't screw up. So I'm keeping track here, so I don't screw it up.
So I don't have the bottom half of the new page. So I have I have F as being charter changes.
That's correct.
Okay.
But you had created that as a category. There were originally 9 categories in chart 2. Let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's a category.
Yep. And I think that these are, again, what I would call
substantive,
but they are bringing the charter into line with how the town is actually being run.
I almost feel like we should give the members an opportunity to take another look-see through these.
Okay.
Come back to them next week. I think it'll be more efficient that way.
Okay.
Because,
I will withdraw my motion then.
Okay. And I guess Alan's withdrawn his second. So I'll circle these for votes next week.
So just so that I am sure I am able to sound a little bit more intelligent, it would be charter changes, town clerk, town administrator, and road commissioners. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Those 4.
Thank you.
Now we come to everybody's fun time of the meeting, which is, do we want to add on to this? And one of the things, obviously, going back in time, this isn't the first rodeo we've had where people are concerned about land clearing and so on and so forth for solar fields. This happened back in 2017 when we had the Toby Road installation go in. And even though that one was a little bit different because the zoning there allowed Eversource to put that up without having to get a special permit, they could do it as of right in the zoning. People still were concerned about the land clearing involved, the change of the landscape, how everything looked and everything else. And back then I suggested to the board, maybe we should have a solar bylaw study committee, and we didn't get that done. With what's happening now with the Borrego thing here, I think it would behoove us to try to get out a little more ahead of this issue. We don't have zoning in place right now, for example, that allows for these things to go over parking lots, which people have ideas to do. There should be something in, I think we should talk about the possibility of having them go on buildings over a certain size. Now, I'm not an expert in what's feasible for a solar installation, for a commercial one, and how big the building has to be. So there's a lot of technical expertise that would have to go into something like this. But I think, people look to us for leadership, and I think we need to try to get out in front of this somehow. Possibly you might want to cap the amount of acreage that can be cleared in a given year, under a solar bylaw. But I think there needs to be a multi-level approach to this problem. We need to talk about, integrating this into the already cleared land, integrating this into already large buildings that might be able to handle it. We need to plan for the future and require large buildings, I think, to be able to hold these installations. Because like it or not, this is the wave of the future. What we don't build in solar fields, we're going to keep pumping into our tanks and putting into the atmosphere. So, if for some reason, a large solar installation doesn't go forward, yeah, that may be a win for those trees, but it's not a win for the planet, because now you got to come up with that energy somewhere else. So what I would like to do is have the board vote to form a solar bylaw study committee. I haven't drafted anything for you to consider yet. I just wanted to throw it out there, get your feedback. So I'll start with Alan.
Actually, the planning board's previous meeting went ahead and put together member from the planning board, member from conservation, a member from the land trust, and they actually are going to be bringing forth, I believe, an article for town meeting for a temporary, it's not a cessation, but it's going to limit solar projects, what we call large scale solar projects. And they're going to limit it from a minimum of 3 acres to a max of 10. I'm not sure why the max of 10 is there, but it's going to require that the land that's involved with a solar field has to be cleared for at least 5 years. So that's coming anyways. And that's just a temporary stopgap. And they basically, I think it's the planning board's duty to go ahead with Mr. Buckland and come back with a full solar bylaw. The town of Marion has a very, very thorough bylaw for the small scale solar, which involves buildings, etc. I would hope that we would be able to trust the planning board to go ahead and get this done for us. If you want to do it on our own, you can, but normally this type of thing comes through the planning board.
Well, I think our history with the planning board is that they tend to get too caught up in the hearings and the minutia involved there, and they just don't, their meetings go to like 11 o'clock at night. We've seen this over the years, and they just don't have the time to get to it. Now, you're talking about a zoning bylaw. They get to weigh in on that. They have a public hearing. They can have their thoughts. They can throw it in there. They can throw it back at us and say, well, we like this, this, and this, but we don't like that, that, and that. In terms of an article to set up the committee, but that's all we're doing here is setting up a committee. This isn't actually writing the law, it's setting up a committee to review. I would expect that you would have a member of the planning board on there anyway, or at least the director of planning at a bare minimum. And I think it's something that, typically when we set up these town meeting, committees, they're usually appointed by the moderator. We may lay out some automatics, but there's the citizens that get appointed are usually appointed by the moderator. That keeps our hands off of it. So that's kind of what I'm asking here. Jim.
I thought you were asking a suggestion, we do the appointment. You want to ask the town moderator to do it through town meeting?
Well, what I would know, typically what we do in these sort of single purpose committees, if you will, that are set up to address a specific problem. You know, what the article does is it sets out the makeup of the committee. You know, for example, we did a dog bylaw study committee. We had a couple of citizens. We had the animal control officer, you know, this, that, or the other person. That's specified in the article. But typically, if it's something we ask town meeting to vote, then we leave it to the moderator to do the appointing.
Correct. So you want to do this through town meeting?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I asked. Thank you.
Yeah, this would be an actual town, this is asking town meeting to go ahead and authorize such a committee.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask for other thoughts. Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good idea. I think we need to do this, and you know, not for anything, not because not for anything, but not because of the trees that are involved in this one, although that's always a concern. I think it's just something we should do. I mean, we should, and by the way, it's going to take a lot of technical knowledge, because a 10 acre, I think a 10 acre, if they're talking about, like Alan just said, they're talking about 1 to 10 acres. I don't think a very big solar field fits on 10 acres. And I think if you built 10 acre fields, you wouldn't get very much out of it. And you'd probably waste a lot more trees, because every single solar field, and I know because I worked on a few of these, you have infrastructure that you have to put in order to service that field. That's transmission lines and all this stuff that have to be brought to it. You have to clear a bunch of land for the combiner boxes to feed the basic, you know, where all the power comes into, which, by the way, is a huge deal. It has a lot of power coming into it. Each one of them, I think, puts out, you know, something close to 300 watts each panel. So if you add them together and you take a row of them and you touch them, you got a little problem, especially once you combine them and then bring them into one panel and then send them out on transmission lines. So you end up with a lot more. So you can't just arbitrarily throw something out there like that. You've got to have some knowledge of what it takes to build a solar field and what a good idea is to build a solar field. You know, I don't think we have that many big buildings that we could really put up very much, by the way, as far as solar fields. I did one, the one I did was in Fall River, one of them, and it was 8 kilowatts, which isn't that big. And I think it was on close to 20 acres. So, you know, this is the size of the land is really relevant. And, you know, this is going to take some knowledge. And if we establish a committee, then we can get the knowledge. We can get them to get the knowledge. We can give them the ability to get the knowledge to come up with something. We're going to have somebody's going to have to be, you know, have some input into, you know, how this goes. You know what I'm saying? You can't just be, you know, like myself, a nobody, let's say, and go there and say, okay, well, I know exactly how they put in solar fields, blah, blah, blah. You don't know any of that. And, you know, the other thing too is maybe you could push some of the people into wind a little bit, maybe, and things of that nature too. You know what I mean? When you figure the bylaw might be more conducive to make wind a little easier than it is. You know what I'm saying? There's could be a whole bunch of stuff that this thing could really work into with a little bit of work. And I think it's worth doing.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned wind. I think it just turned from a solar bylaw study committee to a renewable energy bylaw study committee.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, and that makes sense, because you have maybe not the same issues, because you don't have quite the same level of land clearance when you've got a windmill, but you've got other environmental issues to consider, the noise it makes,
stuff, yes.
You know, where it's located, you know, who it's shading during certain parts of the day. I mean, all these things kind of come into it too.
Noise,
So,
all that stuff, yeah.
Judy.
Two things. Could you inform the people who have a hand raised that you are not going to recognize them?
Oh, okay. Yeah, this isn't a public hearing, ladies. I know who you are, but this is just an internal discussion with the board. So we're not going to be able to recognize you because the issue we have is if I allow you to speak to this issue, then the 52 other people who might have wanted to talk about this will yell at me because they didn't know that I was going to let people speak. So, because we didn't have it on the agenda for a hearing.
In fact, you said you weren't going to speak about it. Can I go back to Mr. Slavin? Mr. Slavin, I'm sorry, I'm tired, but could you explain to me again what the planning board has sort of put into place or is thinking of putting into place? You're muted.
What happened was during the planning board toward the end, they were talking about the 61A, et cetera. And what actually happened there was they had one member of the planning board, Mr. Swenson. I think my wife was one. I think either Kathy or Nancy was from the land trust. There may have been one other person. So they actually had at the last planning board meeting yesterday. They also discussed what the proposal is. They basically went to, I think, the Falmouth solar bylaws in place. And for initially, they want to try and possibly, as a citizens, put forth an article for that 3 acre minimum to a max of 10, which is what they've come up with at least 5 years of the land being cleared that's involved. And that was basically to do a stopgap until the planning board came back with a full solar bylaw.
So what you're saying is that there may be a citizen petition to.
Yes, but it'd probably be a fall town meeting. I don't think they can put it in place for the Springtown meeting at this time.
Well, in the meantime, we can get a study committee going and they can make recommendations too. And I mean, the study committee meetings are always open to the public. And I would certainly expect, given the nature of the subject matter here and how much we've heard about it, they'd probably be a hell of a lot better attended than our meetings.
I have no problem which way you want to go. I'm just letting you know that there's something in process already.
Yep.
So Mr. Chairman, if I can understand, the proposal is to do a zoning bylaw that's so onerous, nobody can do solar until they can come back with a bylaw.
Sounds that
Well,
way.
there's nothing before us to discuss, so I don't think we're going to go there.
Yeah. So.
I can just make
I let you get your statement out and I'm going to cut you off there.
let me make one point clear. That particular thing that they're proposing, my feeling was that the 10 acre maximum makes no sense whatsoever because it could be 50 acres. If the land's already cleared, it already covers, anything to do with things buried in the ground, et cetera, especially after 5 years of being cleared. So the minimum of 3 acres, what they call large scale solar project is fine, but the max there should be no max.
Jim.
I'm in favor of, putting a study group together to make recommendations. And, if the planning board, and George put together this group, and I thought it was 2 from the planning and a couple from Tom. The chair of the planning board put it together.
No, actually, Richard Swenson did it.
Well, I thought it was George, seeing he's the chair.
Didn't work that way.
Let me speak here, please.
Sorry, kid.
One at a time, please. Thanks.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jim.
thank you. And, I attend all the meetings. I'm the liaison for that group. And, they met, there is a recommendation coming forward, maybe for Springtown meeting, maybe not. Nothing's official. So, if they want to put something forward, then we can discuss it at that point in time. If it does, but I am in favor of the study group to come up with a comprehensive solar bylaw, or if you want to call it renewable energy, better than what we have. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, well, is there, again, I don't have anything for you to look at or even vote on at this point. I just wanted to throw the idea out there because if 3 of you told me I was nuts, then I wasn't going to waste the time doing it. But since I haven't heard that exactly, I'll go ahead and try to get some draft stuff out to you soon so that we have plenty of time to consider it before next meeting and decide what the final form of the article would be. Because remember, next week is it. We close the warrant out then. Also next week, we're going to be doing the process for the special town meeting. I've already thrown that together. I did it today. I wanted to sit in my computer overnight and marinate for a little bit. I'll take a fresh look at it tomorrow. But we're looking at opening the warrant up, like, I think, March 19th, and then closing it like the 30th or something like that. That gives us the mandatory 21 days. We need to have the actual warrant in the hands of the finance committee and the town moderator. That's always the critical date in this, is to make sure you get the thing in their hands so they have some time to look at it. So that's for the spring special within the annual town meeting, the one that, we kick over at 7:30 and take up the spring special. So, that's another thing too. There's no reason, if this is, if there are things that we talk about next week, or maybe we don't think they're right, but they need a little more work, we can always put them on the special too. So that's another option.
I have a question for you, sir.
Go ahead.
I thought Ms. Nichols was going to be presenting one article, and she sent an email to us, and she would be presenting that to us next week.
Yes, what she's looking for is the solar pilot agreements, and I guess
Right.
that would be for the Borrego project if it does go through.
Well,
So-
yeah.
Right, so she has been invited to come next week.
My question is, if she's presenting next week and we're closing next week,
Special.
it may need to go on the special, because she has a pretty thorough presentation if you've read it.
Well, I mean,
Unless you guys,
I'll play devil's advocate here. Her presentations are usually so thorough that you have a good understanding of what the issues are at the end of her presentation, so you're ready to make an informed decision. It's not something you have to go home and chew on, because she's like bullet points when she presents things.
I agree. I just am pointing that out because I don't want it to get lost in the shuffle.
Oh, no, she's on for next week, and it'll be one of the, once we gussy up this a little bit, it'll be on there for discussion along with the rest of the charter changes. And, listen, if anybody's got any other bright ideas, don't be shy. It's our warrant. If there are problems out there we want to look at, we want to address, that's what we're here for. So,
All right. Peter, I got my hand up here, just so you know.
Yep, go ahead.
As Mrs. Whiteside just spoke about the articles to be presented next week, I guess, by our Director of Assessment. Has the Commonwealth changed the rules related to personal property tax personal property tax for solar installations, and it's now taxable? Can anybody answer? I thought I read that.
Are you talking about solar installations?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some change on solar, Jim, and that's what Jackie's going to be going over.
Right. So, and I was looking at it's pretty intense, and it would be good to see a comparative analysis of the benefit of the tax on I think it's a personal property tax, because it's the equipment on the property, on the property of the solar arrays, and against what would be a pilot over the course of the time that your pilot would be in place. So
I think that'd be easy enough. I'm sorry to interrupt, because it should be
that's what I like.
really what you look at it is the personal property will have a depreciation effect, which will reduce in value, but the pilot goes up 2.5.
Right. So that's, that way I'm kind of looking at it, and I'm weighing it against what we're allowed to and what the pilot would work out. Because, there's things in there, anything over 125% of what they would utilize within the town borders and blah, 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 blah. So that's all. I just wanted to throw that out there, so it'd have something to look at, and just not the pilot program, but how the new law impacts the new tax law would impact that. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, anything else on town meeting?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and seeing how packed town meeting is, I really don't want to think about putting much more on there, but we have the marijuana delivery coming up. And basically we're thrown to the wolves by the Cannabis Control Commission on this one when it comes down to it. They're trying to remedy a sin from that they didn't take care of in the beginning, sounds like. And one of my concerns is how many delivery companies are we going to have in the town? And if you say no on a host agreement without some sort of backup, why are you saying no? At what point are we saying that there's too many? So is it one? Is it two? Is it three? Is it based on liquor licenses? Is it based on, what's it based on?
So you're basically asking for the same kind of analysis we went through 3 years ago when we did the retail marijuana zoning, is that correct?
Yeah, we're creating new retail operations. And then one of the things that I'm concerned about is, okay, do we get the revenue from their sales into other communities, or vice versa? What happens with that?
Would it be appropriate for you to work something up to go on to the special, Mr. Sullivan?
What do you think?
I do think that would be an appropriate task for you to undertake.
This is my happy face.
So,
No, hold up the little thing.
He's like Bill Belichick, he is smiling.
Yeah.
Jim?
so, we already have people who are requesting.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of be an unlevel playing field for others who might consider if we're looking to limit the number. Are we looking to put to not allow it until the fall?
No, that's something to think about, Mr. Muniz, Selectman Muniz. I already see it as an unfair advantage that we've engaged with retail operations. And we turned other retailers away. And now suddenly there's this new type of retail operation called delivery. Now, delivery may not be as lucrative as everybody thinks because of the setup for it. They need to have, it's not just one delivery person. There has to be at least two, one which would be basically considered security. So there's a lot of costs on each delivery. But you go back and forth, and I mean, you already see that people are paying for these door dashes and stuff like that, paying big money to get their Big Macs. So I imagine they do it for marijuana as well. So I want to get as you know, with these, I want to make sure the town's getting every single dollar that it possibly can. These deliveries it has me nervous because basically there was no plan or any time for the municipalities from the Cannabis Control Commission, and then then it sounds like the information that was put in there wasn't what just was it was a thank you for your input and moved on. So again, I'm just concerned, what are we going to do? Are we now going to destroy some of the other businesses that we've set up? What is this? And maybe, but it's going to be up to the voters at the end of the day. Or if you guys don't want to do more than one or two HCAs, I just I think about it, we need to have some sort of reason behind that and some sort of standing to limit it. Because right now, since it's part of manufacturing, they essentially can go anywhere manufacturing is allowed. And that's going to be a delivery, AK retail operation. It's just the people aren't going to that their doorstep.
Patrick?
I totally think this is a bad idea. I don't care what they say. I don't care how they did it. It's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. For one, you're taking away the retail people's ability to, some of their sales, which is ridiculous. If they wanted to offer delivery, they should have offered it through the retail shops. Simple as that. That's what their job is. They're the retailers. You're the manufacturer. You're the, whatever, they each have their own little piece of the pie. And it shouldn't have been allowed at all. I would have no problem with banning it outright, because I'd say that it's going to be fraught with problems, not only because you're delivering to people's houses, but because they're going to be crossing borders. And when you cross borders, that's going to be a problem. Who's going to get what, how's going to happen, how the subdivision is going to happen. It's going to be ridiculous. And it just doesn't make any sense. It's crazy land. And I'm totally not in favor of that at all, not under any circumstances. And I'd say that this Cannabis Control Commission, they're a little wacky with some of the stuff that they come up with. That's all I can say.
Wacky tobacco.
Yeah.
So,
They're smoking too much of their own. They're smoking too much of their own stuff.
so Mr. Chairman, the one caveat on this is you can have a delivery company, set up shop in, I think Rochester allows marijuana, can have them set up in Rochester, and then they do their sales in Wareham. So,
I mean, we set up this structure to encourage, retail businesses to come in here. We limited the number of them so they wouldn't cannibalize each other. We tried to protect their revenue streams, because their revenue streams, of course, become our revenue stream. And then the state just does strange stuff. So I don't know. It is what it is. Alan?
We have two different issues. We have one that the state was putting together a delivery program only for people, nothing to do with manufacturers or retailers, which still hasn't been flushed out yet. And the second one they came up with out of nowhere was, if you're a manufacturer, now you can also go directly to the customer and deliver it to them as part of their business plan. So there's two different pieces here. What I would suggest to make life easy for all of us to figure it out is ask Mr. Bowen to reach out to the Attorney General's office, where he has some contact, and ask some legal questions. First of all, what can we do if we put a moratorium, or limit it? Can we? Because I'm not sure what the law says, unfortunately. And the other thing is, if Mr. Sullivan would put together a list of questions he has, and either he submits it to the Cannabis Control Commission for answers, or he can call directly. If people aren't comfortable, myself, I can call, because I have a contact directly that's provided information right along, and they're more than happy to answer the questions. That way, the next time we meet, we can actually come up with a legitimate plan that will be viable, and we'll get through the actual, the Attorney General's office, town meeting, etc.
I am happy for something that puts work on Rich and not me. So,
Okay, if you'll provide me, Derek, with your list of questions, etc., I will do that part of it, and Rich can do his, and I'll give it to Rich, and then he'll figure it out for us. If that's okay with the board.
Yeah.
Sorry for extending the meeting.
Nope, that's fine.
I appreciate it. And, I'd rather have a better handle on it than not. So it wouldn't bother me to see a moratorium until we could, really take a look at it and make some, sound decisions on how we want to go with it. Thanks.
Yeah, I would, if we can do it, I would like to, and a moratorium doesn't have to be that long, even if it's just enough time for us to figure out how we can regulate it. I think that's probably the best approach. Rich?
Mr. Chairman, naturally, I'm happy to undertake this challenging assignment, and I'm sure you're not expecting a proposed bylaw by next Tuesday night, but I'll listen to you guys. I just wanted to.
No, you have about a month.
Yeah, well, that's good. I can do it in a month. I just want the board to keep a proper frame of reference on this. A moratorium works only where you have the authority to issue or withhold. So and it has to be for a limited period while you learn how to deal with whatever it is you're trying to deal with. So for example, in the moratorium that we had before, the power to issue or withhold pertained to zoning. Naturally, this will bear more looking into, but at a glance, it's hard to see how a zoning moratorium is going to help you with respect to deliveries. But we can look at that. I'm sure Amazon and UPS and FedEx will also be interested in our work product. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that we're dealing with a set of laws where we, as compared to the Cannabis Control Commission and the state, are relatively powerless. The whole system was designed with several specific intents, one of which was to keep municipalities from having any great say over what happens within their borders. That was an avowed purpose of the drafters. And when the Cannabis Control Commission acts, they act in that spirit, which is why we have so many problems with what they do. So in many ways, we're a bystander in this matter, but I will use the month wisely to find out where we have power to be more than a bystander. That's all. Thank you.
Yep.
Real quick here. We do have the authority on whether we'd enter into negotiations or grant host community agreements, correct or incorrect? Can I, isn't that our decision, our purview? If we're willing to entertain that or not, through you to Attorney Bowen or anybody else who wants to answer that? Thank you.
Well, just very briefly, Mr. Chairman, I think as Mr. Buckland indicated earlier this evening, it would require an HCA with the delivery company. I think that's something that we want to look at carefully because as I was reviewing the Mass Municipal Association's formal objection to the proposal, which they submitted in either late October or November of 2020, one of the complaints that they had on behalf of municipalities, a complaint that was not addressed, was towns' inability to properly enforce their HCA powers. So that's something that I will obviously have to look at, and I'll probably be talking to MMA people about that as well.
Okay, well, anywhere there's money, there's going to be people fighting over who controls it. So,
oh yeah,
we knew that years ago. And it's kind of interesting that in 2018, we put together this bylaw that, as I understand, other municipalities were surprised that little old Wareham was one of the first communities to actually regulate the retail sale the way we did, and to do it in a successful fashion. And I think that bylaw turned into a model for other communities. So maybe once again, in terms of how we deal with this, we'll lead the way. Maybe the Cannabis Control Commission will see the light.
And Mr. Chairman, in offering my remarks, I know they might have been a little dampening on exuberance, but I just wanted to make sure that we all came in together with the same frame of reference as to how the state tends to treat these matters. If there's a way, we'll find it.
Yep.
Rich, I've never been called dumb in such a kind manner before, so thank you.
All righty. Anything else for the regular town meeting at this point?
We're running out of time.
Yeah, we're running out of time is right.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well then, any 48-hour business? Alan?
No.
Patrick?
No.
Jim?
No.
Myself, no. Judy?
I wouldn't dare.
Town administrators report. Will you dare?
Yeah, so let's call it a night.
All right. Liaison reports. Alan?
Not tonight.
Hallelujah. Patrick,
No, I'm gonna wait.
Jim,
The only thing I have is a Carver Wareham Refuse District meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. on Zoom. You can find it on the Wareham webpage on the calendar, hopefully, if you're interested. That's it. Thank you.
thank you much. Judy,
No, thank you.
nothing from me. Let's see.
I move the approval of the meeting minutes for January 21st, 2020, and all of us were present.
Hold on.
Second,
Second,
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan,
yes.
Patrick,
yep.
Jim,
Hold on for one moment there, would you please? Yes.
okay, Judy,
Yes,
myself, yes, 500.
Alan,
Motion to adjourn.
second.
Motion to adjourn by Alan, seconded by Judy. Thank you, Wareham, for sitting through yet another marathon meeting of the Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen, but we covered a lot of ground tonight. Thank you to the members for hanging in there and mostly staying awake. Roll call vote. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Absolutely.
myself, yes. Good night, Wareham.
Good night,
Continue-
Wareham.
No, no.
Continue to be safe.
You.